Hello Nanda. Today we are going to learn about the lesson The Hoop, which is written by Fyodor Sologub. This is a famous Russian novelist, writer, which has been translated by in English John Corners. So here is brainstorming about the lesson. Do you feel like going back to childhood and playing with the toys? Do you think everyone has unfulfilled wishes? Are dreams a way to fulfill our wishes? Discuss. So everyone, when we are in our childhood, we have a dreams to play and have wishes to achieve. So look at the author picture. He is a prolific Russian author, dramatist, essayist, and poet of symbologist movement. His undoubted masterpiece being the petty demon. Fyodor Kuzmis was born in 17 February 1863 in St. Petersburg, Russia. He was later to adopt the pseudonym Sologub. In 1882, after training at the St. Petersburg Teachers Training Institute, the Sologub was appointed teacher of Norovexiko Municipal School and began his career, mainly teaching maths with the Russian Ministry of Public Education. A significant date for Sologub was the 28th of January 1884, when his poem Fox and Hedgehog was published in the magazine Vezina, his first literary success. Much of his ensuing poetry dealt laconically with morbid themes and death in beautifully simplistic way, unencumbered by heavy metaphor, that is comparison, which has been dealt with his writings only of morbid theme of mourning, death, and sad grief. This lesson consists of 7 parts. The woman was taking her morning stroll in the lonely suburban outskirts of the city. In the street, a boy of 4 was with her. She was young and smart, and she was smiling brightly. She was casting affectionate glances that looked at her son, whose red cheeks beamed with happiness. The boy was bowling a hoop, a large, new, bright yellow hoop. He ran after his hoop awkwardly, laughed uproariously with joy, thus forward his plump little leg bare at the knee, and flourished his stick. He need not have raised his stick so high above his head, but of that? What happiness! He had never had a hoop before. A hoop is a kind of a stick. How briskly it made him run, and nothing of it had existed for him before. Everything was new to him. The street in early morning, the merry sun, and the distant din of city. Everything was new to the boy, and joyous and pure. This is about the first bird. So, the 4 of the boys and the mother have been introduced in this lesson. Then, what happened? A shabby dressed old man with coarse hands stood at the street crossing. He pressed close to the wall to let the woman and the boy pass. The old man looked at the boy with dull eyes and smiled stupidly. Confused, Slogis thought struggled with his almost bald head. A little gentleman, said he to himself, quite a small fellow and simply bursting with joy. Just look at him, cutting his paces. He couldn't quite understand it. Somehow it seemed strange to him. Here was a child, a thing to be fooled about by her. Play is mischief. Children, as everyone knows, are mischief makers. And there was the mother. She utters no reproach. She made no fuss. She didn't scold. She was smart and bright. It was quite easy to see that they were used to warmth and comfort. On the other hand, when he had the old man was a boy, he lived in a dog's life. There was nothing particularly rosy in the joy in his life even now, though to be sure he was no longer thirst and he had plenty to eat. He recalled his younger days, their hunger, their cold, their dumplings. He had never had a fun with a hoop or other playing things well-to-do folks. Thus passed all his life in poverty, in care, in misery, and he could recall nothing, not a single joy. He smiled with his toothless mouth at the boy, and he envied him. He reflected, what a silly sport! But envy tormented him. Gives more illness, bad experience to him. He went to work to the factory where he had worked from childhood, where he had grown old, and all the day he thought of the boy. It was fixed, deep-rooted thought. He simply couldn't get the boy out of his mind. He saw him running, laughing, stamping his feet, rolling the hoop. What plump, what plump little leg! He had bared the knee. All the day long, amid the tin of factory wheels, the boy with a hoop appeared to him, and at night he saw the boy in a dream. So this is about introduction of the old man and how he have been influenced the play and mischievous thing towards the boys. And this is about the third part of the lesson. Next morning, his reverses again pursued the old man. His dreams became pursued the old man. The machines were clattering, the labor was monotonous, automatic. The hands were busy at their accustomed task. The toothless mouth was smiling at the diverting fancy. He has been going to the imagination world. The air was thick and dust, and under the high ceiling, strop after strop with a hissing sound glided quickly from wheel to wheel, endless in number. The far corners were invisible for the dense escaping vapors. Men emerged here and there like a phantom, like a ghost, and the human voice was not heard for the incessant, that is continuous, din of the machine. The old man's fancy was at work. He had become a little boy for a moment. His mother was a gentlewoman, and he had his hoop and his little stick. He was playing, driving the hoop with a little stick. He wore a white costume. His little legs were plump, bare at the knee. The days passed. The work went on. The fancy persisted. This is about the old man's factory life, how he have been undergone during the workmanship of the factory time. And this is about the fourth part. The old man was returning from work one evening when he saw the hoop of an old barrel lying in the street. It was a rough, dirty object. The old man trembling in with happiness, filled with joy and happiness, and tears appeared in his dull eyes. A sudden, almost irresistible desire to take possession of him. He glanced cautiously around him. Then he bent down, picked up the hoop with the trembling hands, and smiling shamefacedly, carried it from home with him. No one notices him, no one questions him. Whose concern was it? A ragging old man was carrying an old battered, useless hoop. Who cared? He carried it slightly, afraid of ridicule. Why he picked it up and why he carried it, he himself couldn't tell. Still, it was like the boy's hoop, and that this was enough. There was no harm in it lying about. So he happily found the stick, that is hoop, So he began change like a boy, like a small boy in the imagination bold, and he used to play, and he got happiness which he cannot able to get from his childhood, because when he was in the childhood he went for the factory, that is labor work, not to get the daily meal. So he couldn't at it, he could look at it, he could touch it, it would stimulate his rivers, that is steam and dreams. The whistle and turmoil of the factory would grow fainter, the escaping vapor less dense. For several days the hoop lay under the bed in the old man's poor cramped quarters. Sometimes he would take it from its place and look it at. The dirty grey hoop smoothed the old man, and the slight sight of it quickened his persistent thoughts about the happy little boy. And it was clear, warm morning, and birds were stripping away in the conception urban trees. Somewhat more cheerfully than usual, the old man rose early, joyous early, to his hope, and walked his little distance out of the town. He coughed as he made his way among the old trees and thorny bushes in the woods. The trees covered with their dry backs and bursting bark seems to him incomprehensibly and silent, sternly sight. The odors were strange, the insects astonishing, the ferns of gigantic growth. There was neither dust nor tin here, and the gently exquisite morning mist lay behind the trees. The old feet glided over the dry leaves and stumbled across the old gnarled roots. The old man broke off a dry limb and hung his hoop upon it. He came upon an opening full of daylight and of the calm. The dewdrops, countless, opalescent, and gleamed upon the green blades of newly mown grass. Suddenly the old man let the hoop slide off the stick. He struck with the stick and sent the hoop rolling across the green lawn. The old man laughed, frightened at once, and pursued the hoop like that little boy. He kicked at his feet and drove the hoop with his stick, which he flourished high over his head, just as that little boy did. It seems to him that he was small, beloved, and happy. It seems to him that he was being looked after by his mother, who was following close behind and smiling. Like a child on his first outing, he felt refreshing on the bright grass and on the still mosses. His goat-like dust-grey beard that harmonized with his sallow face, trembling while his cough mingled with his laughter, and sounds came from his toothless mouth. And the old man grew to love his morning hour in the woods with a hoop. He sometimes thought that he might be discovered and ridiculed, and this aroused him to keen sense of shame. This same shame resembled fear. He would grow numb, and his knees would give way under him. He would look round him with a fright and timidity, but no, there was no one to be seen or to be heard. And having diverted himself to his heart content, he would return to the city, smiling gently and joyously. No one had ever found him out, and nothing unusual ever happened. The old man played peacefully for several days, and one day, a dewy morning, he caught cold. He went to bed and soon died. Dying in the factory hospital among strangers, indifferent people, he smiled serenely. His memory smoothed him. He too had been a child. He too had laughed and scampered across the green grass among the dark trees. His beloved mother had followed him with her eyes. So this is about the story of the old man who didn't get the affection and childhood experience when he was in childhood time. After become old, he got the opportunity to get back and played all those things which are the things the childs are playing now. And he got the experience, and he passed away due to the cold climate. And he got the warmth, love, happiness with the nature, bird and grasses.